This was another thing I did right. It was basically understanding the value of the sweetest word in any language, in any culture, or the sweetest sound in any language, and that is the sound of your name. What is happening, beautiful people? Hello, and welcome to another episode of the My Friends As You Grow Gyms podcast. I'm Hoff, your host, and you're in the right place if you are a gym owner, personal trainer, box owner, fitness pro that is looking to grow your gym, grow your business in ways that you, your team, your community, the people you serve, and not least importantly, your bank account are going to feel absolutely awesome about. Today's a fun episode because it's something that I really value and wish that I talked more about, that I think you'll be able to hopefully find some value in, even if it's just as a reminder. Maybe this is something you pass off to your team, but it's something that is near and dear to my heart, that I think is vitally important to our really to our very industry, right? To our way of life, as a coaching facility, as a training, high touch, relationship driven facility. And so I was talking to someone, one of our newer clients is just taking over a gym. So she's just taking over basically what was a struggling gym, and we're hopefully going to turn it around. And so we got to talk through all sorts of really fun foundational stuff when it comes to working with her, and we got to nerding out about some of the more important things I think that I did and that we did right in my first gym, the gym I call my mistake facility, right? That we're gonna have all, at some point we'll have just a tell-all multiple episode probably thing of all the different mistakes that I made. We talked about one of the things I did right was have the value of treat every client like they're your mother, your brother, your child, which I highly recommend. That's in the slimy sales secrets of the industry's biggest D-bag episode. I think that's episode 3 or 4, if you want to hop over and listen to that after this one. But this was another thing I did right. It was basically understanding the value of the sweetest word in any language, in any culture, or the sweetest sound in any language, and that is the sound of your name. That is the sound of to a given individual, the sweetest sound to you, whether you like it or not, is your name. And it is a way to convey just a level of give a shit, right? And a level of service, a level of connection that most businesses don't ever try to actually figure out, or don't take the time and effort to be consistent with it. And so what do I mean by this, right? Oh, well, you're saying know people's names? Absolutely. 100%. So what did this look like? What did this high touch service kind of look like? Well, basically, in short, I made it a goal from the very beginning and was very intentional about this to make sure that I knew everybody's name that came into my facility, and that every time they walked in the door, within 2 seconds of them walking through the door, they would be greeted by name or nickname immediately upon walking in. Now, why is this so damn important, right? So what's in a name, so to speak? Well, think about who you're up against. So for most of us, most of you listening to this, I'm going to assume, and I know, they say when you assume it makes an ass out of you and me, but I'm going to assume most of you watching this video or listening on the podcast are probably, solo operators. You're a mom and pop, like boutique. And when I say boutique, again, I mean like you are a training and coaching service-driven facility. Your gym is not an equipment rental type of place, right? It is a training driven or a coaching driven business. Regardless of what your methodology of fitness is, it is a training service driven business. People that come in are guided by coaches or trainers, whatever you call yourself, right? Teachers and yoga and stuff. But you're a training and service-driven business. And right now, right in this marketplace, it is getting increasingly competitive and increasingly mature. So you have businesses like Orange Theory coming in and spending lots of money. They're well capitalized, right? They're well funded. They have pristine locations, right? Typically in very nice retail, high foot traffic areas. They have really cool looking facilities, cool looking equipment. They don't charge a ton, right? So they're typically pretty competitive with kind of your large group training, boot campy type stuff. Maybe they're a little bit more premium, and they can cram a lot of people, right, in a session. And so if you're just competing on if you're just solving the problem, we mentioned this in past episodes as well. If you're just solving the problem of like, hey, do some fitness classes, right? Kind of get a sweat on. Then Orange Theory may be able to outserve you. They may be able to outsolve that need at a given price. Some people will be like, well, it's cooler there, I'm going to go there. But what does Orange Theory not do typically? And that's like, Orange Theories are franchises, so some people I'm sure do a great job of this. But Orange Theory does a great job of systematizing, of having a true system, a delivery system, a consistent system to delivering their actual product. I don't think they do an amazing job, to my knowledge, of the relationship side of the business, which is why basically most of us still have businesses, right? So if you want to think about this logically, another way to kind of sell you on this is how many of you, I'm raising my hand here, let's do a show of hands, how many of you still have people that have been with you, depending on how long you've been in this business. So I have people that have probably been with me 10 years, right? They started with me when I was in a basement, and they're still with, I live like 1,000 miles away from my gym, my the first gym now, but they're still clients of that gym, right? They're still clients of that facility. We moved out of the basement and into our own space and expanded and all those different things, and they still kind of sort of look the same. Now, you might argue, well, that just makes you a shitty coach, GR, and maybe that's the case. I like to think that we pride ourselves on being really damn good at what we do and continuing education and making sure we're learning and always improving on our craft and so on and so forth, that we try to do right by people and all those different things. So I think we're pretty solid as coaches. I think we have pretty dang solid information, all sorts of alphabet soup behind our names, and listen to smart people and so on and so forth. But yet we still have people that look the same, and yet they continue to pay us in spite of not having a drastic physical transformation after 10 years of working with us, right? Now, what does that tell you? That tells you that you're not necessarily you're not in the business of just transforming people, right? You're not in the business of fat loss necessarily, although selling that can be helpful. You're not in the business of helping people get a sweat on, because they can go anywhere else and get a sweat on cheaper, or they can go somewhere else and get a sweat on with a more premium feel, with a more like cool gadgets with shiny object feel. If you want to go to like an Orange Theory, you can go get them super cheap if you go to a big box gym and just do their like free complimentary crappy body pump this and that classes, right? So they're not solving that need. The only reason they would stay is because they love the experience and they have a relationship with us. And so in our business, in boutique mom and pop facilities, make no mistake, you are in the relationship business first and the results business second. You just are, okay? And, we all probably got, like most of you listening probably got into fitness because it made a big transformation or a big impact in your life, and you're trying to impart that impact on people. And some people come in and they need that transformation, and by God, like we want to give it to them. However, realize that your relationship comes first. If you do not solidify the relationship side of the equation, you won't have a chance to transform that person's life. So with that being said, how did this idiotic kid who knew no one in the area, so on and so forth, end up having a successful gym that like started to become accused of being a cult, right? Like, well, how did this happen? Well, one of the things was we said, okay, we're going to treat every client, every prospect like they're your mother, your brother, your child, and that kind of unleashed a little bit of like kind of took the reins off on sales to a certain extent, took some of the burden off the idea of me asking people for money. I still wasn't charging enough back then, but it did do a little bit for us. And the other thing was, I was like, man, like I'm gonna make this fun. I'm gonna know every person's name, and every time they come in, I'm gonna greet them by name within 2 seconds. They're probably gonna have nicknames, and that's just like no one else is doing that. No one else is taking that small effort. And so what that looks like as a system, okay, is like this should be a requirement of your trainers or of your front desk staff, depending on how big your operation is, or of you if it's just you, is that every time somebody comes in, they need to be greeted with enthusiasm immediately as soon as they walk in the door by name. And if you don't know their name, or if your trainers or front desk staff, so on and so forth, doesn't know their name, they need to walk over, right? Ideally, like kind of happily jog over, right? Hurry over, introduce themselves, get their name, repeat it, and then introduce them. Let's say you're having group types of classes, introduce them to one of your kind of ambassador type members, right? One of your lifers, someone who's been around a long time, kind of knows how things work in your gym, in your facility, your business, and so that they know somebody, right? So now they know you know them by name, you've introduced them to somebody else, which means you're now having to practice remembering their name if you didn't know their name when they came in, and it's just a win-win-win. All the way around. Now that person feels more welcome, which alleviates some of the fear and anxiety that comes with joining anything, anything new, trying any sort of new class. Which, if you haven't done that in a while, please do yourself a favor. Go join another gym 15 minutes away. Go join. I started doing jujitsu. You guys have heard this if you listen to the podcast. I'm all about the little jujitsu cult now, right? So I started doing jujitsu. This is the beginning of my 4th month. And I can't tell you, and I like, I used to be athletic. I spent decades in gyms, right, training as a young athlete, and then coaching people and so on and so forth. And I was still, like, if I'm being honest, like kind of half-assed terrified, very nervous, very uncertain of what I was going to experience when I went in to the jiu-jitsu gym for the first time. And if you picture like our average client, right, in boutique training facilities, they're not the former athletes, right? They're not the people that have their fitness figured out, where this is something that they're confident with. They're the people that probably were picked on, right? They were picked last, right, at recess. They've probably been overweight, out of shape for their whole life. They probably have confidence and self-esteem issues, all these different things. And so if you can do just a little bit to make them feel welcome, it can be an exceptionally powerful thing for them. Now, the other thing is, what happens if you have to do group sales? To give you an idea of how serious we took learning people's names, we used to I only had time to sell in group orientations. I only had a limited number of appointments because it was just me. And so we have 8, 10, 12 people. Once we got our marketing kind of figured out and picked it up, we'd have 8, 10, 12 people in a single appointment when we were just kind of starting out. And I would literally, as people were coming in, because people don't always show up at exactly the same time for the appointment, I would take that opportunity to get to know the first person who walked in. And then every time someone else would come in, I would basically like introduce everybody or go through their names again and literally make it a game. So it'd be like, okay, Ginny came in, I'm gonna get to know Ginny, blah, blah, and then the next person comes in and it's Kathy. Oh, hey, Ginny and Kathy, right? Okay, great, yeah. And then it'd go on and on and on. And I did this every time we had new people in the gym. I did it with charity events, where I still remember the first charity event we had with this like breast cancer organization, the Dragon Divas, awesome bunch of ladies, breast cancer survivors. And we had like 44 new people in the gym at the time. And I can't tell you how impressed these ladies, and they told me, like, I can't believe, like, how the heck do you remember all of us? We got all of their names down by the end of the thing. We were coaching them in the middle of the session by name, like, dude, you just know, like, I've been going to Body Pump or whatever the heck for years and years, and the coaches never called me by name. You're doing it in like 5 minutes with 50 new people in the room. So I wasn't like natural at names. I just literally went through and always repeated it, and always shaking hands and kissing babies as people were coming in for orientations. I would literally go name by name and make sure that I was getting them and repeating them as they came through. And I kind of made it a fun thing. So, okay, like, here's Jen, Kathy, Carl, Biba was one of the ladies. I still remember that. And I'd keep repeating it. They're like, yeah, good job. And if I missed somebody, oh, dang it. Okay, so Jim, whatever, what am I saying? Jen, Kathy, Carl, Biba, this person. And it was kind of a fun thing. It released some of the tension, I think, of coming in to try something new, increased their comfort level. And like, guess what? You knew their name. Now the next level to that, and I shouldn't say one of my prouder moments, but we started doing in warm-ups, because we had kind of a repetitive warm-up thing that we'd do for most sessions, and it was a time to kind of get to know people, low stakes type work. And so we do this kind of like name game thing, and we had 2 layers to it. So we would ask people just stupid questions. What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite show? Oh, you love Lord of the Rings. Who's your favorite character? So we called this like middle-aged woman who you'd never think would say Lord of the Rings. Her nickname was Gimli in the gym. And we would come up with just stupid names for people. But it kind of became a thing. And so like the goal was to kind of get a nickname for people within the first few sessions. But you'd ask dumb questions, get to know them better. And it was just kind of a fun thing. It also got everyone in the gym to know each other better. So now we have this little more cohesive community environment going. At the end of the warm up, sometimes when we're doing kind of the workout description, we would actually, like, we'd have people line up and be like, okay, like, we're gonna go through everybody's name. I'm gonna call on one of you guys at the end of this, and whoever, like, if you miss anybody, you've got one no-handed burpee for every name you miss. We never actually made people do no-handed burpees, but it was a funny thing because we'd say, yeah, what's a no-handed burpee? Well, you know what a burpee is, right? Okay, yeah. Now picture doing it with no hands, and they'd be like, oh shit. So I would go through and name the 15 people in the class and go through their nicknames, and then, like, I would sort of joke call on somebody at times, and it was just another way to get people to know each other. And it was a really, really cool thing, and I think it was part of what kept our retention so high. When, like, look, I didn't do everything right. We didn't have a super nice location. We weren't doing everything super intelligently back in the day. This is back in, like, the wild, wild west of getting this thing started, and yet we did very, very well. And I think the knowing these people's names, making an effort to get to know them better, asking them dumb questions, greeting them with with enthusiasm when they came through the door, was just such a big driver of our success. And if you think about it, guys, like, how many of these people that are coming into your gyms are unappreciated in every other area of their life? Right? Like, they wake up to get their kids up to go to school, and the kids are mad because I want to stay in bed, blah, 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 and they make their lunches and everything else, and the kids don't appreciate it, right? Then they go to work, and they're bitched at by their boss all day, right? They're underappreciated there. They probably feel like they're overworked and underpaid and all these different things, overworked and underappreciated at least. Maybe it's been a little bit stale with the husband or wife at home, right? There's no appreciation there for the things they do. And so when they come into your gym, like, one of the goals that we had is still the top value was be the best part of our members' day every day. And so if you can do that, if you can, like, greet them by name, make them feel important, all these different things, just by doing something as simple as knowing their name, making an effort to continue to repeat that, and know it, and have your team make it important to your team, your business will will go just, like, with such a low hurdle to jump, to help you grow, that it's almost dumb not to. So I would love to know your name. And if you'd love to talk to us and maybe be friends and see if we can't help you grow your business with stuff that's a hell of a lot more, hopefully advanced, and maybe as effective as knowing people's names, head over to www.gymownerloveletter.com. We'd love to talk to you. You could schedule a super duper high pressure get to know you call, where we'll make all sorts of crazy promises and pressure you into buying something you don't want to buy, right? Hashtag that's not how it goes. Anyway, love, hugs, all that stuff. Hope this gave you guys some ideas, maybe some material you can use to remind your team of how important knowing people's names are. And that's all. Talk soon.